I was leaning back in my armchair, a steaming mug of chamomile in one hand, idly flipping through a vintage magazine from the local antique shop. The crisp October air snuck through the cracks of my small apartment on the edge of Pleasantville. Outside, the overcast sky looked ready to snow, yet it was eerily quiet. My phone buzzed, cutting through the stillness. Liam. My heart skipped a beat. I tapped the speaker icon, trying not to expect anything good. Clara, you don't need to bother coming home for Thanksgiving this year, his voice said casually, like he was mentioning milk. I almost didn't hear him right. Sorry, what? We just think it's best if you stayed put, he continued without a pause, as if he'd practiced it for a peaceful holiday. Maya's been a little sensitive lately, you know. I set down my mug. The clink of ceramic on wood felt loud. Maya again. My sister, the one who never faced consequences. Whenever there's an issue, the whole family tiptoes around her. So you're saying I'm uninvited just because Maya is stressed? I said slowly, trying to stay calm despite the tightness in my throat. Liam sighed, that familiar sigh that meant, don't make a fuss. It's just one day, Clara. You'll be fine. I stood up abruptly, the chair groaning. Just one day. I repeated, my voice now as icy as the porch railing. You say that after I've sent over $4,000 to the house since January to keep the heater running all winter? Silence on his end, just the faint hum of the line connecting us. Don't bring money into this, he finally said, sounding a bit flustered. You offered to help. I gave a short, humorless laugh. Offered in January when the heating bill was huge and you called at midnight saying the house was freezing? Who paid? Me. In March when Mom was upset about the noisy furnace? Who called the repairman? Me. And in September when Maya spent most of her savings on her online shop idea? Who paid for the heating oil? Still me. He didn't argue, just repeated the same old line. Family is family, Clara, but Maya really needs calm right now. She's been through a lot. I looked out at the lightly falling snow. I've been through a lot too, but I never got that kind of consideration. He tried to sound patient, but I heard the irritation. Don't make this difficult. It's not personal. I took a deep breath, gripping the table edge. Then don't expect another cent from me this winter if I'm not considered family. Don't treat me like a bank. I hung up before he could reply, the screen going dark. Outside, the snow fell silently. I sat on the bed, my thoughts in a knot. That call replayed in my head. They really did it, excluded me as easily as canceling an appointment. I looked at a photo of us from Thanksgiving 2019. I'd just started my job at the warehouse. Low pay, long hours, but I still took the bus home to be there. That warmth now felt distant. I opened my laptop. The wind howled outside. I went to the utility account I'd set up for them last year after Mom cried about the cold. I was the one who called the oil company, who paid every bill, over $2,000 last year and $4,000 this year just for heating. I did it because I thought it was right. I used to think helping family was unconditional, until I became the afterthought. I opened the spreadsheet where I tracked every transfer. The last entry was 10 months ago, $300 sent for heating. Did they even remember? I'd seen Maya spend thousands on her candle business, buying bulk and relabeling, thinking she'd make a fortune. It failed, and my parents just said, she's young. I said nothing, just sent more money. Meanwhile, Maya posted about expensive coffees and new clothes. My back would ache from work, and I almost asked her why, but I gave up trying to understand. Back on the screen, I hovered over Cancel Service. One click and payments would stop next month. I paused, remembering what it felt like to matter to them. Then I clicked. Service will end on October 2nd, the notification said, a month before Thanksgiving. I closed the laptop and looked at the snow. Each flake felt like my father's words, light but capable of freezing a house. They'd notice, eventually. Maya would stay oblivious. Mom would ignore it until she was shivering. And Dad would get angry, but he'd know he told me to stay away. Part of me felt empty, but another part, the part that had chosen between a coat and sending money home, felt lighter. I was standing up for myself. This winter would be hard, but I wouldn't be the one cold because of their choices. I'd started waking earlier, not for work, but because sleep was troubled. After canceling the heating, I felt tense, part relieved, part doubtful. But each morning, touching the cold floor of my small, quiet apartment, I remembered why. On October 2nd, the cancellation was confirmed. I read the message, drinking coffee, my little space heater humming beside me. That day, the snow was heavy. Pleasantville was already cold, but winter was early. I thought of their old house, with its drafty windows. One night without heat. I didn't feel happy about them being cold, but not guilty either. It was time they understood kindness wasn't an expectation. For days later, a message from Mom. Clara, the heater seems off. Can you check? I stared at it and put my phone down. No reply. That evening, a text from Maya. Just one line of judgment. She probably thought I'd explain or apologize, but I silenced my phone. On the 7th day, Liam called. I let it ring. Then a voicemail. Clara, the house is 58 degrees. If you know anything, call me. His voice was angry and worried. I didn't listen. I went to a bookstore on Elm Street, bought a novel, and sat in a cafe, enjoying the warmth and the smell of pastries. I took time for myself. On the 10th day, an unknown number called. It was the oil company. Are you planning to renew service for 422 Oak Avenue? We haven't heard from the homeowners, and the contract was in your name. No, I said clearly. The contract was canceled and won't be renewed. I'm no longer responsible for that house. I see, the rep said. Just to confirm, you won't be continuing payments? I looked at the snow. That's correct. On October 14th, the messages came fast. Mom, Clara, it's 50 degrees. Dad won't wear a coat, and Maya's coughing. Please call. Dad. This isn't about money, it's family. Maya bitter. Fine, pretend I'm not your sister. I read them, saved them, didn't reply. A record of what I gave and what I got back. On the 16th, the first snowstorm hit. News warned everyone to stay inside. Some lost power. I sat by the window, wrapped in a blanket with hot cocoa, my heater humming. The wind howled. I wondered if they were huddled together, thinking of me as a person, not just a source of money. Maybe not. I put my phone down, moved closer to the heater, and opened my book. The first line, you can't warm a place that sees you as the cold. I smiled. The messages increased as the temperature dropped. They all had the same tone. Urgency, blame, desperation. On October 17th, Mom texted, Clara, it's 54 degrees. Dad's still coughing, won't take medicine. Can you help? I put my phone down. Soup simmered on the stove, filling the kitchen with warmth. The outside was 25 degrees, the storm was early, but my apartment was cozy. I put on my favorite sweater, turned on the oven, and made tea. Elsewhere, they were layering clothes under thin blankets, their thermostat useless. On October 19th, Dad called 12 times. I didn't answer. A short, demanding message followed, call me back. This isn't a joke. I laughed humorlessly. They still saw me as the one who handled things. They forgot kindness has limits. That day, Maya posted a picture of her feet in thick socks, cold enough to live in a freezer. I scrolled past. No pity, no amusement, just agreement. They were in a freezer they'd locked themselves into when they told me to stay away for Maya's sake. On October 21st, Mom called, her voice strained. Clara, it's 40 degrees. Dad's sleeping in his winter coat. My hands are numb. Can you do something? I was making grilled cheese. The oven glowed. The smell of butter filled the room. I didn't answer. I ate in silence, the buzz of messages interrupting each bite. I glanced at my phone, then went back to my meal. I wasn't glad they suffered, but not sad either. I was living within my boundaries after years of being a financial backup without consent. On October 23rd, 2 days before Thanksgiving, a message from Dad made me stop chopping onions. Clara, if you still consider yourself family, now's the time to prove it. I put down the knife and looked at the snow. I pictured their cold, silent house, where I learned to ride my bike, wrapped my first gift. But I wasn't in that picture anymore. I poured hot water into my teapot. I thought about Maya calling me useless for not funding her magazine idea, about Dad telling me to be less sensitive when I felt excluded, about Mom's silence. I had been silent long enough. That night, I curled up on the sofa with a book under my fleece blanket. The lamp was dim, but the room was warm and peaceful. My phone kept ringing. I still didn't answer. Sometimes, disappearing is the only way for others to see your worth. Thanksgiving morning, I woke before dawn. The city was quiet, just the wind. I made coffee and simple toast with peanut butter and an orange. No turkey, no mashed potatoes. I didn't want reminders of the old holidays. This year, I chose simplicity because I no longer needed to pretend. At 10 a.m., I was on the sofa, watching a documentary, feeling peaceful. Then the doorbell rang, sharp and insistent. I knew it was Liam. I looked through the peephole. There he was, in a thick coat, cheeks red, eyes holding that childhood expectation, not apology. I opened the door a crack. "Clara," he said, his breath visible in the cold, "we need to talk. Today's not a good day." "You cut the heat," he said flatly. "The house is freezing. Mom's sick. Maya's upstairs. It's 38 degrees. I didn't cut anything. I stopped paying. It's different." He frowned. "You know we're not good with tech. The contract was in your name. They didn't notify us. I handled it for 2 years, over $8,000. Then I was excluded from dinner to avoid upsetting Maya. Now you handle it." He flinched. I remembered every bill, every skipped meal, every cold bus stop. "Clara, don't complicate this," he said, trying to stay calm. "It's just a misunderstanding. It's been a tough year. Maya's been through a lot. Liam, Maya's been through a lot because she puts herself there. I'm the one pushed out. I stayed quiet when she wasted her savings, when she borrowed money and disappeared. But being excluded because of her? No more." He was silent for a moment. "We have no money, Clara. We've sold everything valuable. We can't afford the heating cost. Mom has a fever. We can't last much longer." I felt the cold through the door but didn't move. "You told me to stay away for Maya's peace." I did. As for peace, I've found mine. He gripped his hood, his eyes narrow. "You're punishing us for one sentence." I opened the door wider, letting him see my warm apartment. "It's not punishment," I said softly. "It's letting you feel the cost of pushing someone aside when you don't need them." He stared, then walked away. I closed the door, the lock clicking. Outside, the snow fell. Inside, I poured coffee. For the first time in years, I wasn't trembling. The week after Thanksgiving, my cousin Nora called. She lived in southern Minnesota and still kept in touch. "I just talked to Aunt Carol," she said. "Things are worse than I thought." I sat with ginger tea, watching the fog on the window. "Maya moved out," Nora continued. "Her boyfriend dumped her. She stayed with a friend, but now she's on someone's couch in Edina. Not surprising. Maya always made everything about her." "What about Mom and Dad?" I asked. "Aunt's in a cheap motel near Highway 12. She has a mild pneumonia." "And Dad," Nora hesitated. "He sold Grandpa's watch collection for heating oil, but it won't last." I held my teacup tightly. That watch collection was all Grandpa left. Now it was being sold. "You okay, Clara?" Nora asked softly. "I'm okay," I replied, "just sad." "Don't be," Nora said. "You did the right thing. If they only come to you when they need something, that's not family, that's using you." We talked more. I looked at my phone, the dark screen reflecting my face. Not happy, not angry, just the clarity of someone who had finally stopped. In the following days, I returned to my routine. Work, the market, reading jazz. No word from my family. Their house was for sale. Nora said they couldn't afford it. Sometimes I dreamed of their old kitchen, warm and familiar, but in the dream, it was cold and empty. I wasn't angry, but not sorry either. I had been cold and alone too, but I'd learned to build my own fire. One night in early December, Nora called laughing. "Clara, you won't believe this. Maya's online, telling a sob story about being abandoned." I raised an eyebrow. "She posted a video saying you left them during a crisis, but nothing about the money you paid or being excluded from Thanksgiving." I chuckled. "Let her talk. People will believe what they want. I don't need to prove anything." Nora laughed. "I love this version of you. After the call, I made cocoa and watched the snow. The world was cold, but I was warm, thanks to clear boundaries. Sometimes, peace means walking away. That afternoon, the snow was heavy. I was folding a scarf when the doorbell rang. It was Mom. She stood there in a big coat, scarf wrapped around her face, snow-covered. She clutched a handbag, looking weathered. I hesitated, then opened the door a crack. "Clara," she said softly, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry for coming unannounced. Why are you here in this weather?" "I took the bus," she said, coughing. "Walked the rest. It took an hour. I hoped you'd hear me." I waited silently. "I've been thinking about Thanksgiving, about all the winters." She gripped her bag. "And I realized I was wrong for what I said and for letting you carry everything." I tilted my head. For the first time in years, I saw her without her strong facade. "Maya regrets it too," she said. "She says things shouldn't have gone this far. She says you don't owe anyone anything." I laughed humorlessly. "Too late, Mom. Everyone says that now after I stopped paying." "That's not it," she said, her voice catching. "I just want you to know I understand now, and I'm sorry I didn't stand by you sooner." I looked at her. Years ago, those words might have changed things. Now, the wounds were scars. "You chose Maya," I said slowly. "You told me to stay away. I paid the bills, but Maya was comforted. When I lived for myself, you called it punishment. So what now? You want me to carry it all again?" "No," she said, tears in her eyes. "I just want you to know you matter. Even if you never forgive me, I understand." I opened the door a little wider, letting her feel the warmth of my apartment. "I'm not angry anymore," I said honestly, "but I'm not the same person. I've stopped holding everything together. I'm not going back." She nodded. "I understand." We stood there in silence. Then she turned and walked away. I watched her go. When I closed the door, I felt no lightness, but no regret either, just a warm certainty that I'd made the right choice. I returned to the sofa and my jazz music. For the first time in years, I didn't need permission to live my own life. January passed quietly. My apartment stayed warm. No more messages from Mom. Haley gave me updates. Maya was asking for help online, saying she'd lost her job. Uncle Mark was selling his car. Aunt Carol had moved in with a relative. "A little late," Haley said about her rethinking things. "Yeah," I replied, "but maybe better than never." Things I once couldn't see were clearer. Not everyone changes. Some broken things are best left where they fell. I no longer thought about Maya every night or checked social media. I didn't need to explain myself. I just lived. Every morning in my cozy apartment reminded me I was on my own ground. At the end of January, I went to the used bookstore. I bought a novel about women starting over. At home, I made tea and sat by the fire. The flames glowed. I was steady, quiet, persistent. Somewhere, their house was probably still cold. Maybe they were using space heaters. Maybe Maya was applying for aid. Maybe Mom thought about the old dinners. As for me, I no longer belonged to that back then. The fire crackled. I reached for my tea. My heart had never been clearer. Winter would last, but I wouldn't be the one shivering. I had chosen peace, and I didn't regret it. I've learned that not all blood ties are worth preserving. Some boundaries must be final. I once thought sacrifice was love, but unconditional sacrifice devalues you. Now I live for myself. It's the freest I've ever been. What do you think of Clara's decision? Was she too harsh, or was it necessary to protect herself? Share your thoughts.